Hey,
Hey, Richard.
so what's been going on? We skipped a couple weeks. Uh, what are the updates in your life?
Yeah, man. So lots of festivals, going full tilt, not getting enough sleep, and then I went from being like trim and feeling good and strong and training and hiking to kind of just coming to my senses the last couple of days, and my shoulder got hurt and I got all inflamed and guts hurt and everything is super tight. It's hard to even walk. I feel lethargic.
Wow.
Yeah, man, I went for like a full fucking so burnout maybe. Just going too much, going too hard,
Yeah.
sleep debt. But I don't know. I've also just read
Mm.
a part in my book about type 2 diabetes and what happens when you have an overwhelming amount of sugar and insulin resistance in your system, and how eventually like your body just your pancreas gets tired of producing insulin and it not being effective, that it slows down and then you have an overload of sugar. So I've been having a bit more sugar too because the stress and cortisol has been going up because of
Yeah.
the sleep deprivation. So I kind of see it happening and I feel the inflammation in my body and it immobilizing my joints and muscles. My arthritis and my shoulders were full fledged, like can barely do anything. And I'm just like, I know what the solution is: dedicated sleep. But the partiers, I don't know, all the events and stuff, like there's just so much going on that everybody wants to drink,
Mm.
everybody wants to go out, everybody wants to do stuff. So it's like, you can take care of yourself or be social.
Mm.
And that
Got taken
or
nap in the middle of the day.
yeah, it's not enough though. That or statement though is
Mhm.
what has been incorrect with me. It's it's not and I don't know. You got to find a balance between the two where you know you're still respecting your routine. But it's super hard to do when everybody's up to fucking 1 or 2 in the morning. How are you getting up at
Mm.
6 or 7 to go do your workout, to follow your normal habits, like take all your supplements and eat your meal and get your workout in? You get all that stuff out of the way. Because what ends up happening is if you don't have to work, then you sleep in, and then next thing you know, it's 10 a.m. before you even get the coffee on.
Mm.
And then you're drinking coffee because there's when you normally don't drink coffee because now you're fucking chemically addicted because you were using it to help you get started. And it's really quick
Yeah.
to fall off the rails. So I've noticed it. I have a theory. We get seasonal depression in the winter, and then we get burnout in the summertime because of the serotonin and melatonin axis and the fact that we need darkness to trigger serotonin converting into melatonin. Melatonin helps us sleep. And now that the days are getting shorter, I'm finding that I'm kind of winding down a bit. And there's more darkness. Like it's already
Yeah.
night out when, a month or so ago it would be still sunny. So now I have to dim the lights where I'm at. But then if my partner's with me and she likes the lights on, now there's an education piece where it's like, hey, if we're gonna go to bed by 10:30 or 11, we need to dim the lights now because we need
Yeah.
darkness. There's an education piece, so she may not understand that. And when you live with somebody or you're sharing space with somebody else, you're like a nomad bouncing around different places, hanging out with people, you're kind of at the mercy of what they know and what their schedule is, and it can really impede on your routine and what works for you. So
Yes.
outside of just being alone and isolated, and then ultimately, I mean, if you want to be social, you just host everybody and everything's on your terms, which is totally doable. But outside of that, I mean, if you're going to people, because I live in Ottawa, no one wants to go to Ottawa. Nobody wants to go to Ottawa. So I have to go to people. So if I lived in Toronto, had a house in Toronto, I could host and everybody would come to me.
But
But
if you're
because I
hosting, you can't really. Can you like just kind of sleep? Like as a host, you kind of have to stay up with everybody a little bit.
No, I say you're coming for lunch or you're coming for dinner, and I'm giving you the
Yeah.
boot by 10 p.m.
Oh yeah.
And like, if you need an Uber, I get you an Uber, whatever else. But 10, you're out, and I can do that as the host. And if I
I guess
wanted
people
to,
like, do you think people might have like an after, like they would be like, when you kick them out, they would all go to like a bar and then you
yeah,
would haggle, but then like you'd still be like sort of, uh, like you'd have to sort of decide not to join them to get the sleep. And then
yeah,
there'd still be like, is there like a fear of missing out? Uh,
it
like, as you were
depends.
saying, like people stay up till 2 a.m. Do you mean like you could go to bed, but you couldn't sleep because of the noise and stuff? But like it would be better if they like if they left to a bar and then you could stay behind and sleep.
Oh, so like there was a total of two parties at the house staying with my partner. So it's not a big deal where it's like I come back to noise and can't sleep. It's more of um the cat just like opened the door on his own. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm cat sitting right now in Toronto. He just like jumped up and swapped the handle, and now he's like
Yeah.
making his
My
way. I
cat can do that. Yeah.
see his tail coming over. But yeah, so it's going with the flow. It's not that like I can't do it. It's just I'm lacking boundaries because I'm enjoying the company of others, but everybody else wants to stay up
Yeah.
and push their limits, right? This guy, this is looking at me. Um, so I'm at a point now where I'm becoming impatient, and I know why. It's because I'm still sleep deprived and my body hurts. And I know that like before I was super happy and giving and energetic. It's because my body wasn't hurting. It's because I felt good in my own skin. And now that I started to put on some weight and I started to get inflamed, which is probably like most 30-year-olds, especially the ones with kids, because they never fucking sleep.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm fucking miserable. Like, and that's because of how I feel. So I'm sorry, but like, you're going to feel better and just be a better person if your body is in shape and strong and not hurting. And, if you're not overwhelmed with stress, a lot of people are
Yeah.
because of this thing called money and the need for it to not be on the streets. So it's like, I've I've been stressed because of not sleeping. There's some other stressors as well of leaving the military, but and yeah, and you try to figure out your space with somebody else, and a relationship can have its challenges too. But when everything adds up, yeah, it can make you a pretty short.
Mm.
And I don't like being that way. I don't like having to fight frustration. But when I think about what my frustration and anger is, it's simply a lack of patience in that particular moment. And what is patience? And why at some points do we have an abundance of it, and then at other points we have none? you know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
why are we irritable and at some points, and then other points we're perfectly fine and like graceful no matter what happens? And that's something I want to actually like sit with for a bit and explore that. What is happening? Like I want to see if anybody can describe what is going on.
Yeah, that's it. I recently had an experience that I was reflecting on something like this. Like I played a video game called Getting Over It, and the video game is really designed, I think, to like put the player in this mindset of like almost like reflecting on like why we get angry at a video game sometimes. And like the video game is about like climbing a mountain, but the controls are like just the mouse, and you have to like swing like a hammer around to make your way up the mountain. It's very easy to fall and like fall all the way down to the bottom though, and then you have to start over. And so that's where that's where people get angry, is like they're making their way up. It's very like painstakingly, like sometimes your arm hurts because you're like swinging the mouse sort of across the desk to like hoist your way up the mountain, and then you like sort of make a wrong move or whatever happens and you fall, you lose progress. And I've actually beaten the game like 3 times now, and it's been very different experiences. Like when I was less good, like the first two times, I remember like I would kind of get angry. I would be angry at the game. I would think like this is unfair. Like the game has problems clearly. Like I can't get past this part. But then on the third playthrough, like last night, actually, it took me like 46 minutes straight from like new game to beating it. And I felt like totally calm. And like I was like streaming too. One of my friends was watching and like I wasn't even bothered by like someone else watching, like even when there's like really these real critical parts where you like have to get a move perfectly or else like you fall back down, you got to do it again. And there was like the pressure of like I want to perform well, I want to get to the top, like sort of like this time. And but it was weird, like I fell significantly back down the mountain like a couple times, and I just felt like completely zen, like nothing. And so then I was reflecting, like, why, like it took me like 3.5 hours one time to beat it. It took me like more than that the first time. And then now I played through it 46 minutes and I felt like I understood. I felt solid, like appreciation for the game. And I knew I was like better at the game. And even when, I messed up parts that I shouldn't have and I fell back, I was sort of just like, well, like, just very like almost like not, just water off my back sort of feeling. And it was very interesting to like now I have examples of doing the exact same process, like exact same game. And in one case, I was just like flaring up in rage, like sort of quitting. And then the other time just enjoying the whole process, even the failures. And that was like a very stark contrast for, I don't know what feeds into that.
Okay, so question for you. So I don't know if you're aware of the cognitive triangle and how our thoughts can affect our emotions and how our emotions affect our behavior and our behavior can affect our emotions and our thoughts can directly affect You ever heard of the cognitive triangle?
I haven't heard of that
So,
triangle, no.
no, it's simple triangle, very powerful, and 100% our thoughts can
Yeah, it
cause
reminds me though
emotional.
of yeah, I think I've encountered that idea when like people have told me, like I read the news and I get angry at the news and then they're like, well, like you're just like, it's like nothing's physically happening to you. Like so you have to separate like the emotional response from like the physical or something. And that kind of seems like what's going on with this triangle with like separating a thought from a physical danger or something.
Well, also too, with the news, they use they tap into our
Yeah.
negativity bias, and then they sell us negativity 99.9% of the time. And then
Yeah.
it's hard to not see, like you see the world on fire all the time when you watch the news, and then it's hard not to think like, oh, world's on fire. No, I don't feel safe. There's people dying in accidents and all around me. And then
Yeah.
if you feel strongly enough about that, you start to change your behavior. You start to have a scarcity mindset because, you hear of a food shortage or, like you hear about a break-in. So now you have a fucking shotgun that you just purchased, even though you don't have,
Mhm.
I don't know how you purchased it because you probably don't have a
Yeah.
license. But like it can affect our behavior. And some people who listen to these tinfoil hats, fucking end of the world. What are they called? There's,
Doomers, something.
I guess,
Conspiracy.
doomsday preppers. Now, there's merit
Yeah.
in prepping if you live in an area where you could be hit by natural disaster. Also, if you're plugged into the grid, it's smart to have, a backup source of electricity. It's smart to have a backup source of heat if you live in Canada, don't want to freeze to death in the winter. Have, some food. Sure. And also, I mean, if the grid is down long enough, people are going to do some crazy shit. That's what they do if they feel desperate. You've seen it with the toilet paper during COVID. It
Mhm.
doesn't hurt to have a shotgun, but this is a temporary measure. This is just in case the grid goes down for a bit. If you wanted to doomsday prep, you're not going to have a long-term position in the city, or you're not going to be able to have anything sustainable in a city around like a large
Mhm.
population. Your plan needs to be to bug out and to go to some cabin where you have food caches and you know how to hunt. Best thing you can do is have knowledge of how to take care of yourself, how to forage, how to hunt. and have access to an area where those resources are available. That's your best plan, really, and be able to bug out to go to those areas. But people are like doomsday prepping because they watch enough fucking YouTube videos and they think the world's on fire and going to end any moment when really considering like crime rate has been the lowest since the agricultural revolution began because of the rule of law. The crime rate is the lowest for like across the world for our population size. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
it's not as terrible as it used to be when fucking Queen Victoria was, you know, an imperialist going and conquering a bunch of lands, or even before her time, Persian Empire, Roman Empire. There's a lot of fucking. It was not the best time to be alive during those
Hmm.
times. We are a lot more stable these days. So it's but the news, some
Hmm.
people can start to like really go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, like back then, no one was like reporting the numbers in like real time, but now, like as small as the numbers might be, we hear about like every single thing, and then you add it all up, and it feels like a lot.
But circling it
But
back
yeah,
to you getting
yeah, the
frustrated,
time.
the question
Yeah.
I had was when you were initially getting frustrated, were you telling yourself that this fucking game was rigged? Because if you really think the game is rigged and that it's like impossible to beat or it's fucking stupid because of the way they set it up, I am wondering, like, did you tell yourself these things and then that correlate to or that um, translate into you getting angry?
Yeah, it was more like it would be like, oh, it's like a physics glitch, or like my mouse is not working correctly, or like I don't have the right equipment, or like my computer's not fast enough to like, it's like it'll be lag or something like that. Like even if it wasn't, like it was sort of like this, or like you begin to question of like, well, if I had like the equipment that like whoever made the game had, or like the right PC, or if software was better, or like if this was designed differently, then you sort of ask all these questions that are deflecting away from like any sort of my personal failing or personal skill, and like trying to poke holes with like, oh, this is improper design, that's why I'm doing the right thing but it's not working. Uh and then yeah, it's like projecting your anger onto the game, and then you start feeling like you're fighting against the game instead of like the game bringing you along a journey. You sort of feel like, oh, I just want to beat this so it'll be over and my arm hurts or something like that, because I've been like playing for hours or something. And so yeah, it's sort of like that kind of stuff.
Interesting. Because I've been trying to use emulators now on my Mac for the first time ever, and it has been an experience. I usually don't like to do things like that because it can be complicated, but
Mm.
I got a Super NES emulator. I got Final Fantasy 3. There's like two different cores, maybe three that are available. No, I think two, but then there's like another interface called Emu something. But so I'm using this thing and I start a game with the original Final Fantasy, like American version. And I start playing this thing. I'm like, yeah, this is the game from my childhood. Great. Has a nice fast forward times 10. So, it just speeds things up.
Oh
I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Fucking absolutely will not play an RPG like that, an old RPG game without fast forward.
Yeah.
And it's legit because Emu is compatible. I'll get to this point later. But anyway, so I'm playing this thing and I'm like, yeah, right on, cool. I progressed pretty far. And then I'm like looking things up and I don't know how I stumbled upon this Ted Woolsey edition. I don't know if it's the original, but basically everybody loves Final Fantasy 3 or 6. Like there's a lot of people who love this game and they've put countless hours into fixing the bugs, the glitches to balance out the stats because
Right.
apparently like the only good stats are magic evade and magic attack and maybe physical something like the other ones are all like the algorithms are all fucked, like they don't work. So apparently people, the cat just opened the door again to get out. That's hilarious. So people put all this time to balance the game out, and they created this version called Ted Woolsey. So I learned how to patch a ROM. I patched it,
Oh
But
yeah.
I kept hitting issues, right? And then I would read into the README text and be like, it said, okay, only use version point 1.0, not any other version. I was using 1.1. That's why it wasn't working.
Oh
And I get
yeah.
this from a programming perspective, right? Because things change with updates and it could break the code when you patch it. So yeah, I did it. And then I'm like, yeah, right on. And then I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta start a new game because the save states, like, I can't. It doesn't even recognize the save state
Right.
from the other game. It's a different game now. So I go play the game. I get pretty far, and I go load it up yesterday, and it just crashes every
Yeah.
single fucking time, every time. And I'm like, well, fuck. So I try to troubleshoot the best way I can. I uninstalled it, reinstalled it, turned off the computer, reset, yeah, everything else, right? And I go on Google and I look at all the forums. Other people have this issue, but I try with all games, and all games crash when I try to load a start state. It doesn't, or a save state. It doesn't matter where I am in the game. Okay, so it's broken. The fucking emulator does not work on Mac. Is my consensus. So I send them an email and say, hey, this is happening. I've spent fucking 5 to 6 hours doing this, dude. And I found the emu one, and the email works perfectly, but their fast forward is only times 2. And I'm like, I can't handle this. I need times 10. And I'm like, is there a way to increase it to times 10? There's no way. So emu is good. It's a good plan B. At least I can play the damn game, but it's not the way I want to play it. Because I want to read the dialogue, especially the properly translated stuff. But I just don't have the patience for how slow the characters move. So anyway, I wasn't upset at all during this troubleshooting and figuring things out and constantly failing and then discovering. If anything, it was interesting because it was almost like debugging code and trying to figure out what was causing the issue, and trying to troubleshoot all possible things, like, without actually debugging the issue.
Yeah.
Because apparently people are doing that. They're actually going into the code and debugging. I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. It's on my emulator.
Yeah, and there's
You're
a
lucky
thing where like you'd never, even if it like works for a while, you never know if it's gonna like glitch out after like hours of invested playtime. And so the only way to like test it is to like play through the game. And so if you fix anything, it's sort of like you can never be sure, and just relax and sort of let your guard down kind of thing.
Oh, that is stressful. But I mean, it's free. I did have like my iPhone version, which had like updated graphics and like orchestra music, which was really cool actually.
Yeah.
But no fast forward feature on there. So,
Mm.
and I gotta say, like, the ability to patch these ROMs with people's creativity, like, and all the hard work that they put in, is really neat to see the changes. So I kind of like in the ROM world. I just need to get a controller
Yeah.
for it. But man,
Yeah, it's
I'm
crazy
saying all
now how
this.
many past games exist and that they're all
Yeah,
just ROMs. Yeah. It's
and
neat.
I'm saying all this, and I'm saying it because I did all that, and it's totally the emulator's issue. And I wasted tons of time playing the game and also trying to troubleshoot. But I'm not angry at all, dude. It's, I don't know what it
Mhm.
is. It's like I have patience for that until I don't. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is not my problem. I'm gonna message them.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, if you go back and deal with that more, yeah, I wonder, like, will your at some point, you'll be a bit too tired or a bit too, like, feel it's, like, a bit too repetitive, or that, like, it was working before and now it's not, and, uh, yeah, there's so many some, like, levels of different stuff inside of us that determine, like, how we weather, like, an inconvenience. Do we feel it's, like, a learning opportunity, or do we, like, just wish it would just be solved?
Hmm.
Yeah, overall, I have pretty low expectations for like computers these days. Like anytime I'm running any sort of complicated software, or even just like, downloading like an application for Windows that's like well known and then opening it, I just don't even expect it to work. Like I expect some kind of glitch or whatever. And I
It
just
says
have like,
Windows.
yeah, like my expectations could not be like lower for any piece of software.
Yeah, Windows is,
Yeah.
yeah. But then Apple
Windows,
isn't
yeah.
perfect either. Apple
Yeah.
Apple just lacks some features that it should have. Like I just went through, it's not intuitive as I thought it would be. Like I
Mm.
thought they were supposed to be intuitive and everything seamless. And I'm like, no, I have to constantly go on Google to figure out how the hell to do something. And then there's like a whole bunch of different steps to do something that I want to do that I think is very basic. I mean, the fact that you can't organize your photo, your English, your photos based off their name. It's all based off when they were taken, but it gets all screwed up when you move the photos around or
Yeah.
like so I can't organize my photos the way I want to. At least not
Mm.
with the full view where it puts all your photos together. You can create albums, but then in your master view where everything is laid out, which is basically what I want. I don't want to have albums. I just want to have all my photos like in
Yeah.
chronological order. But they're all out of sequence because all the dates are all over the place and you can't change it. There's no option. Oh, there is. There's only the one option. And that's the option they give you, which is to organize based off date taken. And like, just for the highest market cap, for a company that has the highest market cap, who's been leading the way when it comes to like personal computers and innovation and art. It's an art form. I don't know. They just with all that brain power, it's just like how do they miss this basic shit?
Mhm.
And it's simple. I mean, this is all software. Send a fucking update. Very different than hardware. And I gotta sum up quickly though. What I will say is I think Apple has taken some steps backwards because they should listen to customers when it comes to the software and how to make things more intuitive, for sure. Now, when it comes to the hardware, Apple has, I think, for the first time, I don't think for the first time, I'm not sure, but they've listened to people when it comes to the hardware. And they took
Mm.
one of the most beautiful, sleek, elegant pieces of technology I've ever seen and owned. And they've taken like 3, 4, 5 steps back. It's more bulky. The um, it has gone back to HDMI and a fucking like a video card thing. They has the magnetic um adapter for charging it.
Oh yeah.
When it had only two USB-C ports, where one USB-C port was good for charging, and it was a third of the thickness. That was an elegant machine. Also, the Pro had this bar on it that
Touch.
like
Yeah, the touch one.
the touch bar that would change
Yeah.
depending on what you were doing. That was so powerful. It was so man. I loved it, but because of customer feedback, they got rid of the bar. They got they brought back the magnetic strip, which I fucking hate because it constantly falls off when I'm trying to like sit with my laptop. And now I have it's thicker and heavier than I want it to be. I really feel like they've taken steps back hardware wise. So I have their new Pro. I had their old Pro. I want the old Pro. I see people with it. I'm like, yeah, that's a good piece of
Mhm.
tech. That's a minimalist piece of tech. What they could do differently is just add two USB-C ports on the other side, which there's no reason why they can't, and then provide you with that additional accessory, which I know that they won't do, but that allows you to have the the
Right.
HDMI or that fucking port for your camera card. Like it's not much money, but they should provide it with the laptop. Add $20. You wouldn't even know if they added to the price. You wouldn't know. And
It'd be
then they
cool
have
if
a yeah.
like if all oh yeah, like if all this was like customer modifiable, like if Apple sort of built like not just the one solid laptop, but like all the pieces that fit together, and then they made them in a way that like you could swap them out and like rearrange them, and like even to the point of somehow like adding ports if you wanted, or like you could have like a third party vendor like add the ports you want, but
They won't
you
do
could
that.
buy yeah. But that would be
No, they
like
won't.
empowering. Like that would be some sort of like giving the ability for like something like a ROM, like a ROM like community to like hack away at Apple stuff and build
They
like,
don't. They don't want that
yeah.
though. This is
Yeah, they
like
definitely don't want it, yeah, for money reasons
yeah,
or whatever.
it's like they describe it inside Steve's brain as like it's a piece of art. You're not gonna let somebody fucking put art over top of it. They don't like the open source stuff, and it makes
Mm.
sense because like when the drivers were programmable back when we were discovering computers as kids, I was using a Windows fucking 90 or something. I don't know what it was, but it crashed all the fucking time. I had to save all the
Mm.
time because it just crashed. And that was because of the drivers, because they were
Yeah.
programmed by people open source or whatever. And it was terrible code. And they don't want
Mhm.
other people adding their code in when, because they could, I don't know. I'm treading carefully
Yeah.
here because I know that people who like to do that stuff can add a lot of value, but ultimately that company wants to control everything and keep everything self-contained, which is their business. I hear they even like lay out the inside of the laptop to be beautiful and
Yeah,
artsy.
they do like, I
They
think they glue a lot of stuff together to make it like very solid and together, but that does mean like it's gonna be like that forever, until you just throw the whole thing out and buy a new one.
no, but I mean like the actual way they lay things out on the
Mm.
motherboard, the way they set up the inside of the computer is apparently beautiful too. It's like artistic.
Yeah, they show some of
But
that in videos. I don't know how true it is, but like there's some cool videos of like when they release them, they show like the scans of it and they
yeah,
look cool.
yeah,
Mm.
man. I don't know. I'm a bit disappointed with this new model. I feel like it's an old model and they just wanted to like sell the old hardware that they had sitting in their warehouses or something, and they just like I feel like that's what's happened because I feel like it's an older case. But anyway, dude, that's it.
I guess it really comes down to like if you have an HDMI thing that you want to plug in, then it's great if there's a port. And but if you don't have like anything HDMI to plug in, then there's just like a big hole on the side and there's no use for it. So that
Yeah.
it's like two different sort of like two different people, would find either like a nice convenient utility or like a weird design hole, and you can't. It's hard to like meet both of their expectation unless you could sort of like fill in the hole with some kind of like if Apple would sell you something that just goes flush with the side of it that like fills it in or something.
So like, yeah, but they lead the way with innovation and change. They got rid of the floppy drive while floppies were still being used. So if we're
Mm.
gonna move to a world where everything is just sort of like you connect to your TV from your laptop just with airwaves, and then that's the way they want to go with it, they lead the way. Like if you watch the show Expanse, look at their tech. Like they have little phones. It's like a transparent little block, and then everything's on that phone, and they basically comes off the screen, and they can flick it onto like
Mm.
on another transparent board, and then now what you see in your phone is mirrored on. Like they're moving in that direction. You can't move in that direction if you listen to the people. So you got to be like listen to the people when it comes to the software and how the GUI works and stuff, and hear their feedback if things are broken or not intuitive enough. When it comes to the hardware, though, I mean, listen to the people if they're pushing for the change and that's going to be your own team. Don't listen to the common folk who want things to stay the same. Everybody wants things to stay the same. No one likes change. People don't like change in general, right? So, I mean, if they didn't lead the charge, we'd probably still be using floppy disks, man. I don't know. I was making shit up now. I gotta go, brother.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, it was
Let's chat
good
next.
conversation though.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye, buddy.
Yeah. All right, I'll see you. Bye.